Hello and welcome to RPL F1 Tier 2. It is time for the Japanese Grand Prix for round number 4 of the season. And it is time for qualifying to get underway. We have already one retirement from this session. It is Instincts in the Ferrari. But hello, I am your commentator, Ryan Ocon31, and it is good to have everybody join us on the stream. I know it is a different voice from what you're used to hearing. A little last-minute deal. A couple days ago, I asked Titan, "You okay with me commentating? You know, you guys need commentators?" And he said, "Yeah." And he got in contact with the admin team and got this set up. Deal got approved today, and here we are. But the first driver to be on the lap is the Haas of B1960, Grandpa. And let's watch what he can do on board. Let me turn the audio down just a little bit. Let me know how the audio is, because I fixed something with it. Just so it's not too loud. Let me go with 7. And I don't want to mess with too much of these things, because it's not my stuff. Okay, that's a little bit better. It's not too loud. But yeah, the Japanese circuit, well, I should say the Suzuka circuit, actually has a lot of good characteristics about it. You've got 130R, the final chicane, Degna 1, Degna 2, spoon curve, hairpin. There's the S's. There are so many spectacular parts about this circuit. A lot of the drivers in real life love it, and a lot of the drivers, I think, in this league love it too. You have 2 drivers who've set times so far. A 28.2 is currently going to be the time to beat, and now make it 2 retirements. Instincts, the first retirement, he ended up winning the first round in Tier 2. And Sam Steed ended up taking a podium last week. Sam Steed took AlphaTauri's first podium since last game, I want to say, in Tier 2. It's definitely one of the slower cars, for sure, in this game, and that's without a doubt. So to be able to be on the podium for AlphaTauri is pretty spectacular, considering how much slower that car is. Also, going over last week's results for a second, Groggers ended up winning in the Red Bull. Polo ended up getting on the podium in a Haas, and Sam Steed in the AlphaTauri. Sam Steed in the Alfa Romeo this week. As you can see, the difference right there. But now, it's 6 drivers who've clocked in time. So let's go on board with somebody who's about to start a lap so we can cover the action. Audio is fine. Thank you very much for letting me know. Now, I want to make sure you have kind of a decent... How do I put it? A decent mixture, I guess, with the game versus party audio. Because you don't want the game audio to overpower it, but you also don't want the party audio to overpower it too much. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. Owen is now on a lap. Owen sits second in the driver's standings, 20 points behind championship leader Groggers. Owen has been on the podium in 2 of the first 3 races so far, so he's going to try to make it 3 out of 4 this season. Coming to the S's, you can just see the power in this Red Bull. Owen as well, the only driver in the top 4 in the standings without a win this season. So here we go, end of the sector split. It's a 31.5. I'd have to check what or at least notice what the top 2, top 3 are doing to see how that compares. You can see Bonkers goes fastest now with a 28.0. That's a little over 10th faster than his teammate now. Owen past the hairpin and now going to the ending parts of Sector 2. the last braking zone for Sector 2. And now it is a Mercedes out front. Oh, you could just see ran off circuit just a little bit and lost a bit of time from that. How is this going to affect him as he comes to the sector split? Is he down compared to his rivals, or is he not? The time at Sector 2 is an 11.3. There's a little bit of traffic in front of him. I'm going to assume the Mercedes is going to get out of the way. Or, sorry, that's the Alpine, excuse me. And the Alpine did get out of the way. And here he comes to the start-finish line to complete his lap. It is going to be a 28.0. Only 16 thousandths faster than second place right now, the Mercedes of Valkyrie. You just see the gap at the top now as I put it on leader. It is now 3 drivers within a tenth of the top of the leaderboard as things sit right now. Instinct saying that if you leave the game, it retires you apparently, so that is exactly what happened to him. As for Sam Steed, he had said it's happened immediately. Well, we've heard that quote before at this racetrack, actually. So, you know, definitely not the first, definitely not the last time for sure. We're going to go on board with Patrick F1 in the McLaren to see what he can do. He's currently one of 3 drivers still left in the session, yet to set a time. His outlap was invalidated. So yeah, here he comes, turn 1 now. You're going to want to go toward the inside curb. You can't touch that inside curb now in this game, or even really on previous games at this track. You just know how it goes with those inside curbs. These curbs in the S's you can get a lot more leeway with, I've noticed, when it comes to the more present F1 games. As you come to the end of the S's, now turn 8, heading to the sector split, you want to keep it all the way to the left that you can. 31.9, he's going to go purple. We don't know how true that purple is, though. You know how F1 games do be lying like that with the purple sectors. Now, coming to the hairpin. Does he have a setup to where he can brake early? Does he have a setup to where he can brake late? It's very interesting the kind of setups you can go for at a circuit like this. Last game, I remember the setups were very mixed in a league race I did here. Some people went for more downforce, some people went for more top speed. The top speed worked out a lot better on last game than I can remember on previous F1 games before 22. I know with doing the top speed, it works quite a bit at a track like this, considering the track position is so key at a circuit like Suzuka. As he comes to the final chicane now, it was a 12.1, so it was a little bit behind Owen on the sector split. This might put him P5, P6-ish area? No, actually, I was not even close. P13. He is ahead of his teammate, because his teammate did not have a time up on the board up until now, excuse me. 7th place now for his teammate. 5/10 off the top of the leaderboard. Who else is about to come to the start-finish line to start a lap? Well, you got a little bit of traffic with Jim Bob's area, and I think the beginning of Sector 2 now, as you can see on the track map, is we're halfway through qualifying. The Aston Martin of Jim Bob. Gonna start a lap. Let's see what he can do. You know, the interesting part I found when looking through some of the stats heading into this race for sure was that, yes, although Red Bull have podiums in every race so far, the Ferraris have won more races than them so far this season, out of the 3 races that have been complete. They've won 2, Bonkers, Instincts. Gruggers was the only other winner. He won in a Red Bull. Aston Martin have a pretty fast car in this game, I would say, compared to previous games. No podium yet in Tier 2 for them this season. Jim Bob is 100th up in his time, so if he continues at this rate, he might plunk his way toward really the top 7 spots. It depends what you can really do throughout the rest of the lap. Hairpin now. Which line is he going to take on the exit? Not too close to the grass, or the curbing, I should really say. You don't want to touch the grass here, that's without a doubt. I've done that too many times to tell you the truth. When trying to turn too much, as people know, the sensitive steering in this game gets you to turn a lot more, and you don't want to do what Jim Bob did and invalidate right there. You can see the frustration by shaking the wheel as he invalidates his lap. At the sector split, he would have been down. I don't know how much time the mistake made in that difference for him. Let's see if he's going to go for another one or not. The front two are on outlaps, by the way. Jim Bob's teammate, Def Knights, third on the board right now. 34,000's back. That's now 4 drivers within a tenth of the top of the leaderboard with 6.5 minutes remaining. Who's going to start a lap here? How about second place in the charts, Valkyrie F1. Let's see what Valkyrie can do. Warming up the tires, trying to start the lap. Getting ready, getting out of the way of the traffic. You can see the AlphaTauri in front. Trying to back off just a little more, not to have the dirty air. Is that AlphaTauri finishing lap? Is that even an AlphaTauri? Was I right about the AlphaTauri? I don't think that's an Alpha. Is it an AlphaTauri? I might be wrong. No, that's a Haas. Excuse me. Wow, I'm very blind today. Well, let's go on board with Valkyrie F1 and keep on board. Going through the S's now. Not too close to the curbs. You can just see a little bit of a slide right there on the lap. Now hugging the inside part of the curb. And gonna set himself up for the sector split. Where is he in comparison to Owen? 2/10 down. Just has to find more time. You can see the other Red Bull of Leon Minor. Oh, invalidation. That's why he had backed off and had lost the time, I think. You could see, I was going to say, comparison to the Red Bull teammates, 7/10 between Leon Minor and Owen. Leon Minor and Owen, 2 veterans of RPL, I must say. Little tactics there from the McLaren and Mercedes. Trying to say hi to each other, I'm going to assume right there, is both of them, I think, are invalid? No, one's in an outlap, and the other is invalidated his lap time. So, just going through the times, I must say, quite close between the whole field, in a sense. You know, I think you look at real life and you look at the comparison to how much it's closed up the field and compared to previous years, it makes the realistic side of it much more closer and much more competitive. If I'm just going to use an example with this. Last game, if I was a slower driver in a Red Bull compared to a driver who is usually 5-6 tenths faster than me in probably a Mercedes, the gap is quite close, or I would say maybe the Mercedes is... Wow, I don't know how the McLaren of Patrick F1 kept that straight, but that is incredible how he did not hit a thing from that. But as I was saying, the thing about the Mercedes-Red Bull comparison from last game, the gap between Mercedes and Red Bull, if I had a faster driver by 6 tenths in a slower car in comparison to me, the difference that does, I would say, is... Maybe it's track dependent, right? Where I'm faster, but that Mercedes is probably going to be faster than me. I don't remember the difference too much, but I know it was anywhere from like 3, 4, 5, 6 tenths probably. But that's going to be track dependent for me to be faster, right? And without a doubt, the difference this game with, I would say driver's pace with a car that's like the Mercedes to the Red Bull, because the Mercedes is, I would say, if you take a faster driver in a Mercedes compared to a faster driver in Red Bull this game and do it like that, I don't really think it's as track dependent as it was last game. The gap between everybody right now, look at the gap between everybody through 1st to 13th, which is, well, now it's a different 1st to the 13th with the Mercedes out in front now, with Valkyrie F1 as Patrick F1 is retired from the session. He's going to start no better than 14th now. I think even he's confused about what happened, as we could see the driver's chat. But yeah, as I was going to say, the gap from, well, now it's 1st to 13th, right? I was going to say the teammates with Red Bull to Red Bull, but the gap has now changed. I think the thing that you look at is it's closed everyone up, whereas I think last game, I watched a couple of the RPL races last game, and I would say the gap wasn't as close as it is now. And, you know, obviously with realistic, you're not always going to have everyone get so close. I think Depth Knights is backed out of this one. I know he was up on the time a decent bit, but he looked like he backed out of this. Yeah, he's definitely backed out of this one. No, as I was going to say in comparison though, I think the big thing to look at, like I mentioned, was the closeness, right? A lot more teams are closer in real life and in the game. It applies because they're both realistic. But the thing I tend to notice, and maybe it's just qualifying pace. I've not looked at too many league races on this game to kind of get into detail too much about it. But the thing is, you'd have the usual winners, the Red Bull, the Ferrari, Mercedes. Well, now you've invited the Aston Martins in. The Haas's are closer. You know, so many teams are closer. If a Red Bull or Ferrari or an Aston Martin or a Mercedes were to have any issues, it brings those teams closer to actually have a chance instead of thinking, well, my battle's really for just P3, P4, or maybe P5 if there's issues with them. So I think they kind of, the other people in the lower teams kind of realize, like, now's my chance, you know? Especially if you're as fast as drivers in equal cars as the rest of these guys. Now the final qualifying laps are getting underway. The Aston Martin of Death Knights, we're going to go on board with him. He's currently third fastest, a 10th off of the top of the leaderboard, and we only have one driver in the 27.9s. So, the Aston Martin is riding those curbs right now, trying to find as much time as he can. This is his second attempt at a final lap right now as he comes to the sector split. Last time he was down, this time he's only down by 9,000, so much of an improvement by the Aston Martin. Now, coming through two rights before you get to a hairpin, which is just so much heavy braking at this kind of track. You can just see it sliding, just trying to find some time in this Aston Martin. He knows that if he can find some time right there, in comparison to last time, this could be the difference between the top of the leaderboard and not. The last braking zone is Sector 2, here we go. And now coming up to the sector split, let's find out what the difference will be. Here we go, checkered flag is out. Driver still completing laps, 200ths up, so this might be just good enough for second, but he's got to find a lot of time in this last sector to go pole. Red Bull crosses the line now. I think that's Leon Miner. It is Leon Miner. Checkered flag for him. He cannot improve, so he will start outside the top 10, but the Aston Martin of Death Knights comes to the line. It is going to be pole for now. Provisional pole for the Aston Martin. 22 thousandths over the Mercedes. He found some time in the last sector, just what he needed to do, and is currently sitting on provisional pole. Valkyrie F1 could not improve. Here's the Alfa Romeo coming to the line. That is JTK. He does improve a spot. Now, the McLaren comes next. He improves his time a ton, but no positions for him. Jim Bob to the checkered flag. No positions improved. Now, we are looking at Owen, who could possibly take away pole position from the Aston Martin. Can he do it? No! He couldn't improve his time as well. He found some time in the last sector, but it was not enough. Some drivers are boarding laps, but the next guy who could possibly take pole position away is Bonkers. 61 thousandths down, so he's got to find time in the last sector too. The other Haas. Grandpa comes to the line. He cannot improve many places. He improved a couple places, but could not beat his teammate. Next is his teammate, but he cannot improve as well. He's coming to the pits, and he calls it quits. So, Death Knights, by 22 thousandths, ends up on pole position at Japan. We have had two drivers into the 27.9s to try to catch pole position there. It was Valkyrie F1 who took it, found time on Owen in the later stages of the session. Then it was Death Knights who found time all in that last sector. He was really down and out of it for pole position, I would say, when it came to that last sector, but he found just enough time compared to his previous lap. He realized, that's where I messed up, that's where I need to find time, and he went all push and got himself pole position for the Japanese Grand Prix. So there you have it for qualifying. That is it. Now it is time to go over the starting grid. At the end of qualifying, Death Knights, the Aston Martin driver, is on pole position by 23 1,000ths over Valkyrie F1, who is in the Mercedes, trying to get them their first podium of Tier 2 this season. Same with the Aston Martin team. Owen, who is second in the championship, qualified third. He rounds out the top 3 in qualifying. So the rest of the order, you have two Haas's rounding up that top 5. Bonkers, who's won a race already. Invade, JTK, Minions, Tadpole, FBL. That is your top 10. If you look at the teammates to the top 2 qualifiers in the Aston Martin and I was going to say the Red Bull, but it's actually it's actually the Red Bull who's in third, excuse me. those guys are outside the top 10. So I should say 2 of the 3 qualifiers in top have teammates outside the top 10. So if they want to play the team game, those guys may have to extend or hope for a safety car, maybe try a different strategy if they want to help their teammates. Or is their fight not with their teammates today to help them? Is their fight just for the team with more points, I would say? More focusing on their self, realizing, okay, maybe I can get a top 5 out of this, or a top 6, depending on what kind of race it is so far, and realize that I can't just stay out to kind of kill myself more than help my teammate, I guess. You got to kind of realize what your battle is, and it'll be interesting to see what strategies people go with to realize what is their battle today in today's Japanese Grand Prix. So, to start off the RPL Tier 2 season, we've had 3 different winners. 1 coming from the Red Bull camp, 2 coming from the Ferrari camp, and 3 different drivers. And if you look at the podiums as well, 5 different teams. The Aston Martin and Mercedes teams end up kind of helping themselves go for 6 and 7 with different teams on the podium this season so far in Tier 2. As people know, it is not about where you start, it is about where you finish. They may set themselves up well so far, but they have to finish it off well. And the good thing is, compared to the other races this season, I would say personally, this is one that we look at most on the schedule in really any league we go to, any league that happens, right? And any track you go to, and you look at, this is one for track position. Qatar being the first round, I don't really think that's... I've not seen any league races there yet, but I will say, I don't think it's as much track position. I could be wrong, but I think overtaking there is sometimes a little too easy. Maybe I could be wrong. I didn't watch the race there, so I don't know. Monaco is probably the toughest one when it comes to overtaking, but you want to maybe talk about a second, third, or fourth hardest track to overtake, and you look at definitely a second, third, or fourth to Monaco, Suzuka. So if you look in comparison, there you have it. Here come the 5 red lights for this Grand Prix. Drivers have got their the strategy set up. They rev it up, and lights out. Away we go. The Aston Martin and Mercedes get off side by side off the line, but the Mercedes couldn't get the traction because he's got the Red Bull alongside of him. They're side by side for second place. The Aston Martin so far has the lead, but now the Red Bull getting challenged from the Haas. We've got, I think, a spin in the back. That's Leon Minor in the Red Bull. So just what I was talking about when you talk about teammates and prioritizing strategy, you can just see now on the board the difference in strategy with soft, hard, and medium tires the drivers have started on. But now it's a 3/10 lead at the front of the field. Depth Knights leading the Grand Prix off the start, keeping the lead over the Mercedes. Owen got challenged by the the Haas, and was challenged in the Mercedes. The Mercedes didn't get as well of a go off the line as I thought he would. He looked like he did at the initial start, but then once you got pumping up, he couldn't get the traction, it looked like, to challenge the Aston Martin. But it's kind of a 3-car breakaway if you look at things so far in this race. On the opening lap. Now, here comes Owen, gonna challenge it. 130R right here. This is a bold spot to make a move, but he's got it done already. So Owen wasting no time to make moves. He's now the first runner on the soft tires if you look at everything. Positions being traded in the back. I think there's a couple spins somewhere. There's a front wing coming off. Oh, that's the Williams. Going off the track. He's got front wing damage. He's gonna have to pit. So does Patrick F1 as well. I think there might be one more. Nope. Would have thought Leon Minor would, but he must have finished lap 1 without any damage. But as we focus on the battle at the front of the field now, Depth Knights, Owen, Valkyrie F1, and now Bonkers has kind of put himself in position to be within DRS by lap 3 if things continue the way they are. Oh, McLaren goes off. Minions coming back onto the road. It's going to come back on outside the points. But yeah, I mean, as you can see with drivers and their strategies, as I was talking about, kind of realizing what your fight is and what your fight is not in this Grand Prix. You know, obviously everyone knows by what you can see, Grandpa, JTK, on the hard tires, they're going to be looking to extending. And they're hoping, obviously, for no safety car. I think with how lap 1 went, not too many chances for a safety car around here. I don't know if the safety car is on regular or reduced. I'll have to check that for future races. But Owen hunting down the Aston Martin, you can just see the tire difference as well with them. First place in mediums, second and third on softs. Death Knights took the fastest lap there, then it got taken by Bonkers. So you can see at the front four, they're kind of pulling each other along, but if they battle too hard, it's just going to allow the Ferrari of Invade into this fight. And as you saw on lap 1, Owen wasted no time to get by Valkyrie F1. You know he'll do the same with Death Knights if he has the opportunity to do so on this lap. And maybe he does at the end of this lap when DRS is applied for the first time heading into turn 1. And that battery is going to be a crucial part we look at too, because that Aston Martin's used a lot of his battery so far, whereas Owen has saved it up quite a bit. Yeah, I'm definitely not beat Nick, by the way, guys. But Owen is there to challenge. He's right on the back of him, but could not get the traction up the hairpin to stay with him. He's lost a bit of time, but now he's going to set himself up for later in the lap, and maybe next lap, to have a chance for this race lead. I feel like at Suzuka, you compare it to other tracks, it's definitely a big patience game, right? I mean, you don't want to be too bold with an overtake, but you don't want to be too passive about it either. If you end up being very passive about it, you might waste time to get overtaken. You can just see the DRS difference. Here we go. Left side for this race lead. Not going to get it done. It's also allowed Valkyrie F1 to close in the back of Owen. Bonkers has now got his chance. The top four in just over a second. Now here we go. For the lead, DRS applied into turn 1. Before turn 1, he's going to go to the outside and is going to get the move done. Beautiful move for the lead. And off the track goes Death Knights. Now he's going to be challenged for second place in this race. And Death Knights will hold on. There you go. So now what these guys have to do in second and third is just simply hold on to DRS. Hold on to DRS from Owen. You know the Red Bull's the faster car, but if you hold on to DRS, you know you have the chance to at least have somewhat of an opportunity to maybe push Owen into a mistake. I mean, it's doubtful considering the pace difference with the Red Bull to the Aston Martin and the Mercedes, but you never know. I mean, I've watched many races in this league before. I've race engineered many drivers in this league before, multiple times, and sometimes you know it. Well, I mean, any race, you know it's not over till it's over, but you just never know. You have to give yourself the opportunity to say, maybe I still got a chance. And right now, these guys, Bonkers, Valkyrie F1, Death Knights, they're all pulling away from Invade, which maybe they don't think their race is for the win, but they think their chance is to simply pull away. If these guys don't battle too much, well, they're able to pull away from fifth, which probably is their battle with the Ferraris. And oh, we got a spin! Valkyrie F1 is around, and he's now out of the podium spot with that. Like, he just lost the rear right there. That might have done it. He was following, and it might have been a rear lock from what it looked like. I could be wrong, but now he's re-entered right in front of his teammate right there. And just behind a little DRS train for 6th place as well. And what that's kind of done now that you see the spin has happened, it's kind of separated Bonkers from Death Knights. There's really no battle to kind of hurt themselves from the Ferrari, as you can see. But talking about hurting yourself, that is what does it. A penalty right there from 2nd place in this race to Aston Martin of Death Knights. You can see he's just outside of DRS from the leader. But picking up a penalty, trying to push to get to the leader now, is exactly what will give you a penalty. I feel like Suzuka is one of those tracks you look at with penalties. It's definitely not the easiest track to pick up a penalty, but when you do it, it's definitely costly because your competition around you, in comparison to picking up penalties, there's only, you see right now, only 5 laps about to be done, 2 people have penalties. You compare it to a track like maybe Qatar, Imola. I'm trying to think of other tracks actually with Oh, I should probably say Austria. Austria with a lot tougher track limits. You could definitely notice the difference it makes in your competition when more people have penalties compared to not. You can see, right now, if this race were to end, he'd be down to 4th, Depth Knights would. And DRS applied. We have a spin in the back of the field. That is JTK in the Alfa Romeo. And Leon Miner, after that spin on lap 1, has now got himself up into the top 10 and a chance for points in this race. Just what I was talking about when you compare teammates, you know? Is your chance for points, or is your chance to kind of help your teammate? He realized that race is not over yet, and he has a chance for points. He's got himself within DRS right here of the car in front, FPL. And to set himself up beautifully. So now the battle comes for 2nd place. DRS between Bonkers and Depth Knights once we get to the exit of the final chicane. This will be the battle we look for. I was looking at chat. But just what I was talking about, you know, the battle with these guys, with the Haas, the Aston Martin, they know their battle might not be for the win, but it's probably for the spots on the podium. They've done a good job pulling away from the Ferrari in 4th place. They're not battling too much, but it looks like within the next couple of moments we might get a battle between them. Oh, a slide from the Haas. Now DRS applied on the run down to turn 1. Not close enough now for a move after that slide, but definitely doing what they can to pull away from that Ferrari there for 4th place. Oh, behind that, the Alpine and the Aston Martin. Jim Bob gets overtaken for, that is 6th place in this race. And then 2 Mercedes as well, both within DRS. Trying to see what other battles we have on the track. How about the battle for points as well? Leon Miner. Oh, Sam goes off. And comes back on right behind his teammate and the Ferrari. Sam Academy right there. I was just going to say, as that was happening, there's the battle for points with Leon Miner, JTK, Instincts, Sam Steed. But now it's kind of pushed itself out a little bit with this battle. You can see that the difference it makes now that Sam lost the time. No DRS from the car behind to Leon Miner. Leon Miner lost DRS to the car in front, but as those 2 Mercedes battle, all he can hope for is them to waste their tires. Leon Miner knows he's on a different strategy, so all he can hope for is look at his race and do what he can to help himself. Not push it too much to catch them and waste his tires. But you saw a little slide there from the Aston Martin in 2nd place, who has that penalty. And this will be the big thing we focus on, because this, depending on what happens for the rest of this race, this could cost him a spot in the podium later on with the way this is going. Right now it only costs him 3rd, but big things to focus on in this race when it comes to later on. And when the pit stops come along too. Here we go. 2nd place once again. Depth Knights in front. Bonkers trying to challenge. Yellow flags behind that. That is Jim Bob around. Jim Bob with a 2nd mistake. And as I told you, Leon Miner trying to focus on his race. Let everybody crash. Let everybody do what you can. And take another position while you're at it. You know, he got into a spin on lap 1. Lost himself a couple places. Now back into the points. FBL. 3rd time penalty of the race now. And a little swap there between Instincts and JTK. Don't know if that was meant or not. But the 2 Mercedes, I think, also did the same thing and swapped it there as well. Yeah, it is FBL now in front of Valkyrie F1. It was the other way around for a moment. So there you have it. So as I mentioned previously, Owen, who's finished on the podium twice already this season, hasn't won a race. The only guy in the top 4 in the standings without a win. So, big thing to focus on, especially when it comes to championship too. Yes, it's early in the season, but something I do want to focus on is Groggers. Where is Groggers in this race? Where is Groggers? Is he even in the race? I don't think he is. Well, that'd make a big difference with Owen and him for the battle for the lead in the championship. speaking of battles, we had a little overtake there between Bonkers and Death Knights. Now Death Knights is going to come back at it. He's got the DRS for round number 2. He's going to try this time around the outside before turn 1. Leon Miner picks up a penalty, but the move has been done before turn 1 and entering turn 1. The Aston Martin goes ahead. And like I mentioned about knowing where your race is in this league and knowing, you know, live to fight another day, I guess. I think that was kind of the feeling from the Aston Martin and the Haas there with the race leader Owen. They realized that that's my fight for another day. The battle is for second, and these guys have realized that battle is for second as they've swapped places twice now within the last lap. More battling continuing behind that. 8th place, 9th place now with JTK, Leon Miner. This is for the sector. This is at the sector split, excuse me. Soft tires from FBL, far in front. Mediums for Leon Miner and Instincts. JTK on hards. Jim Bob on mediums. Different strategies here for the points positions. Oh, we've got a spin! I think JTK might have got a tap there from Jim Bob at the hairpin. He loses another place to his teammate. That's the second, I think maybe the second or third time the Alfa Romeo teammates have swapped places due to spins or due to mistakes. The Alpha boys seem very close to one another. We'll focus on that in a bit, because I know they'll be close for points, and Jim Bob is out of this race now. He's off the circuit, and there you go. That's the safety car that some of these guys were looking for. And by the way, big thing to focus on, Owen could not pit from the time the safety car came out. He has picked up the safety car, but the rest of the guys behind that could pit because they were close to the pit lane in time for it. This is big for this race. Oh my goodness. I think a double stack from the Haas boys right there made the difference. I said about Groggers. They should probably focus on it now. No, Groggers. So Groggers was not in this. Groggers is not in this race. He was leading the championship coming into this race. Now, if Owen does stay put, or ends up taking 20 or more points, I should say, which I don't think there's... Is there a point for pole in this league? Because if there is, and he does get fastest lap, Owen, and finishes second with both, he would be tied for the points lead. But if there's not a point for pole in this league, which I'll check after to be 100% for future races, then he'd have to win the race in order to take the championship lead. But that's big that the safety car only picked up Owen, but could not pick up the rest of the field due to the timing of that safety car. Owen was past the pit lane. The rest of them weren't. And you can see basically everybody's made a pit stop in this race except for Owen. And you know Owen being on those soft tires, he's going to want to come in, but this ultimately takes him out of the lead. And now he's going to have to go for round number 2 of trying to get the lead back. He did it once before, and it took him, what, 4 laps to do it? We're going to see how many laps it takes him to do it if that's the case. Let's see where he'd come out right now, probably. Oh, this is not good. He'd probably come out outside the points at this rate that we're going. Just like I said earlier in this race, they realized, the Aston Martin and the Haas, they realized, with Bonkers and Depth Knights, they realized, my fight is for another day. This is their opportunity now to really hold on to what is going to be the lead here in a moment. Unless Owen does a pit, obviously he does. It would be dumb not to, but they realized their fight, that's for another day. And Owen going on to mediums. Thinking he could take mediums the rest of the race. That is big in this race, by the way, that he cannot pick up the safety car. Because look at the spots he's losing now. You'd think he'd be around 10th, 9th maybe. Well, he's nowhere in comparison to the rest of the field. 14th. He's going to restart this race. If things stand the way they are. No, I guess, no weird events happening under the safety car, and he'd be 14th. So, yeah. I'm amazed by that. I really am, how it just all happens in a split of a second. I was talking about it before, and maybe that was the jinx for it, you know? The Aston Martin and the Haas have probably put, and even the Ferrari and, you know, the teammates, the Haas, Grandpa as well, they're putting themselves in a position to realize they now have a legitimate shot to win this race or potentially be on the podium for their guys. Haas last week was on the podium at Polo. They can make it a double podium if they continue at the rate they're at. Second Haas is on the medium tires. Bonkers was within that DRS battle with Depth Knights. So all this, a big focus in this race for the remaining 17 laps. Can we see a 4th different winner in 4 races so far to start this Tier 2 season? That's going to be the question. Bonkers would be a driver who could repeat that. Instincts could be a driver who could repeat that. Grager's not here today. I kind of realized that last moment. But, yeah. That is the difference it can make in RPL. It's never over till it's over. These races have proved it before. I mean, I've watched so many of them, and you could just see safety car in this lap. Before the safety car comes in this lap, I just want to let everyone know that RPL F2 is tomorrow morning my time, tomorrow evening for the UK people, and then after RPL F2 is RPL F1. So make sure you tune into that. Don't know if I'll have a stream for it, but we will let you know. Safety car in. Green flag racing back underway. The Aston Martin with a controllable lead. 4/10 now, that gap. But he feels a little bit more confident about getting this race victory and probably having to save that ERS right there. Oh, and we've got a retirement. That is Patrick F1 in the pit lane on this restart. But it's all happening behind them. Positions being swapped. That's Grandpa down the order. I just completely missed that. Grandpa down the order, and the Alpine of Furs as well, also down the order. So they've had a lot happen. Right in front of Owen, who's trying to gain so many spots. Oh, there's a collision up in front. Sam Steed's around. The Williams as well also got a piece, I think, as well. Or sorry, that's the other Alfa Romeo, the teammate of Sam Steed, JTK. But Owen, who desperately needed those spots to get back up in this race, he's gained more spots from this restart. How about 6 spots now? Or 7, with the Mercedes of FPL spinning right around. So Owen has got himself controllably up the field. You can just see the difference that this has done with the spins happening. Owen has just set himself right in clean air just about, and he's now got what, 5-6 cars up to the lead. So if you are an engineer of any of the front 3 or 4, you might want to tell him that Owen's coming, and he's gained a lot of spots due to crashes that have happened throughout the field. A little bit of restart chaos has allowed him to go up the field. Battle for 3rd place now. The Ferrari getting ahead of Invade. Ahead of Valkyrie F1, who had a little bit of a battle for the lead at one point in this race. Now has slipped away, and his battle now is for the podium between the 2 Ferraris. Here he comes, the outside line now. Going to try to make the move in the braking zone. Here he comes. Couldn't get it done. Now he's going to try to switch back to the inside line for turn 2 and get the move done still. And once again, the leaders, 4/10. 4/10 is that gap, and Owen right behind his teammate. Will we see the teammates swap in the coming moments? And the big thing to focus on, like I said about these penalties, 2 of them within the top 3, 2 of them. So a big thing to focus on when you come to the end of this race and what the positions may mean. Net leader would be Bonkers, to put that up there for the fact. And more yellow flags behind that. That is the Haas of Grandpa, who looked like he'd have a chance for a top 5 position in this race. Now has seen that come plummeting down the order, and it's just come away completely. Owen, now a teammate swap between him and the Red Bull. I don't know if that was planned or Leon made a mistake and then let him go, but now all Leon can do is just simply follow Owen. And there's the retirement from the lead! Depth Knights has binned it! And that brings out the 2nd safety car in this race. That is big. And all this is just going to do is help Owen. That's all this is going to do. When they thought that they may have a chance for them drivers up at the front of the field, Bonkers, Depth Knights, Invade, Valkyrie, all to win this race, now Owen is up to 5th. And going to be 4th now with Instincts pitting right here. 10 spots since that restart. Let's check the drivers who have gained spots since the start of this race. Leon Miner, 8 spots. 4 spots for Invade, 3 spots for Bonkers. So, what has happened with Depth Knights? Has he said anything? Does not look like it. Not that I see. Maybe in his team chat he said something, but don't see anything from the public chats from RPL with what has just happened. From the lead, too. I mean, how much more heartbreaking can you get than the lead? More drivers pitting as well to go on fresher tires, some electing for the mediums, FBL electing for the hards. Instincts was the first guy to pit. I think he's going to come out 9th place. Sam Steed, JTK, all realizing nothing to lose here. FBL as well. Grandpa and the Haas, nothing to lose. So just pitting simply. They realized that a couple crashes have definitely hindered their chances of gaining any spots. So why not take a gamble and pit and have the fresher tires? Although track position is a big key around here, though. That's something we'll focus on this restart in a couple of laps time. As I was saying before, the safety car ended up coming out. So as I was saying, RPL F2 is tomorrow. Hope I remember correctly, 11 Eastern, 4 UK time. The next race in the F2 season is Monza, the 4th race of the 11 on the calendar. Season 17 for RPL F2, it says. And F1 Tier 2. Next week, we'll go to Spain, Catalonia. Another track that seems like track position will be key. However, with there being no final chicane, an altered turn 10, turn 11 area, maybe that presents them for more overtaking compared to a track like Suzuka. That'll be the 5th race of the 11 of the season. And as I was saying, RPL F1 ends up going to Miami, the Hard Rock Stadium, for tomorrow's Grand Prix. That is 3 Eastern, 8 UK time. That is the 4th race of the 22 race season. And for RPL F1, we'll have to find out if Barrett can hold on to his championship lead. 2 race wins. Actually, the standings haven't been updated. I don't think so. Maybe he probably is still the championship leader, considering he held the lead over a race. But is it 2 race wins? Let me check. Yeah, 2 race wins of the first 3 races. So let's see if he can hold on to that for tomorrow. In chat, get your prediction in for who you think will win this race within the next 12 laps, as we're about to get the restart underway, and probably a little bit from now. Probably coming in this lap. I know a lot of you find Titan a familiar face for Tier 1, but as far as I was made aware, it looks like he is not going to be commentating tomorrow. I think he said he's on vacation or out. I don't remember the exact reason, but there'll be a different commentator than usual for the Tier 1 race tomorrow. And as for F2 for RPL, let's see what can happen in tomorrow's race as well as they go to Monza. Seems like it's always a crazy one in Monza wherever you go, whether it's F2, F1 cars, classic cars. I know there's always a lot of crazy races. I know there's no classic cars in this game, but I'm saying previous games at previous leagues. I know there's always crazy races at Monza, especially turn 1 in the start. And that's always a big focus point. And speaking of focus points, let's focus on the race lead. Green flag back underway. Restart complete, and now you can see the gap from the lead to second, 8 tenths. So Bonkers did get quite a big of a jump. He's trying to be the first repeat winner this season. Question now becomes, can he hold on? Net P2 and Net P3 is Valkyrie and Owen. No penalties for them, so we'll focus on that. Now throughout the field, a big battle. Leon and the McLaren. Almost a little bit of contact between them, but Leon has to back off there to avoid collision. And now Leon getting challenged by this big, hungry train behind him. The Alpine ducking out on the Williams there, side by side with Track Racer. Oh, a little bit of contact, I think, between Leon and the car behind him. Oh, a little more contact, trying to push Leon through the corner, saying, hey, get going. Oh, he's going to get pushed from the car behind now. He loses 2 spots from that, make that 3. And big battle now to the hairpin. Outside line on Mythic. Here comes Track Racer, trying to pull the move. Leon getting challenged. Yellow flags behind that, but the big battle now for 7th. It's all happening behind Leon Miner. Instincts gets through. Can they make it a double Ferrari top 5 by the end of this? We shall see. Owen, Invade, Valk in that order. Interesting. So Owen, Owen, in that prediction of yours, Beatnik, would be the second Red Bull winner and the fourth different winner of the season. Now, the Alfa Romeo boys battle it out. JTK down the inside of Sam gets the move done at the final chicane. This is all gonna be for points at this rate. If they keep it up, Sam Steen now to the outside line. Big battle right there. And now, how about making it 3 wide? And in front of that, Mythic as well gets overtaken by Trat Racer. And the 3 wide stops itself. JTK finds himself in front of the Alpine. And then the Alpine finds himself in front of Sam Steed. Tadpole gets the move done. Up, Leon Miner. I think trying to battle up in front with the Ferrari of Instincts. I think the move got done from Instincts. Oh, there's contact! Around goes the Alpine of Furs. That was contact from Leon. And that might get Leon some damage. And an investigation from the Storage. And there's more contact. Leon's now spinning. The Alpha boys have to try to miss it. They have to use the runoff. Sam Steed being the main one. Does he have damage? Yes, he does. So, look at that. Look at what that does. And now, this is now going to be the big focus. Second place in this race. DRS. Next time by, I think, for second through fourth. Well, I should say third and fourth, because second does not get DRS right there. But, going to have to hold on. Is Invade. Which way does the Mercedes go? How about around the outside from Owen? Gonna try to go 2 and 1. Has to use the runoff though. And will lose both places that he could have gained right there. But it was just inevitable. It wasn't gonna happen from that late. But it was worth a try. I mean, did he outbrake himself? I think so. I think that's what caused that. Now the Mercedes tries to find himself around Invade to have a shot for the win. He knows he's got the faster car. He's got the better chance to attack Bonkers compared to Invade, because Invade has that penalty that is hindering his chances for this race win. Leon is always crashing 3 absolute beasts. I've noticed it, I think throughout the time I've watched it. Oh, a little bit of a dip in the grass from Invade. Just gonna slow their momentum down to try to catch Bonkers right here. It's definitely not too little too late, because here comes Owen to the outside line on the hairpin. Gonna go side by side. The Ferrari's gonna defend there on the outside line. A spin at the back of the field, but the battle still heats up. Can he get 2 and 1 this time? Left side he goes, a little bit of pinching, and there's the virtual safety car out for, I believe that's a spinning Sam Steed. Yes, it is. He's off the road. And now he's got no front wing. So, a bad day gone worse for Sam Steed and the Alfa Romeo. Oh, off his FPL as well. He's got damage too. Oh, wow. Here we go, back underway. And now the gap is 2.4, and the Mercedes, you could see, lost its spot. Now he's losing traction. His race for a podium could potentially be over unless the penalties make the big difference at the end. Here comes Owen around the outside, gets the move done for second place. Now, this is the big focus, like I said. The battle for the lead. It was only a matter of time, but can Bonkers hold on to be the first repeat winner of the season in the final closing stages, or can Owen make it 4 of the first 4 races with different winners? Yeah, he was. I mean, he was doing retirement FBL, and that's going to create a safety car, the 3rd one of this race. Like I said, it was only a matter of time, but now it's just FBL. He has to go, blood. People are saying. Yeah, I think that was at the pit lane, in the pit wall. Yeah, it looked like it was, unless it was in the runoff. I couldn't really see where it was. I'll be honest, I was looking at chat when that happened. But, like I was saying, only a matter of time between Bonkers and Owen for that lead. Now it's just a matter of how you manage this restart if you're Bonkers. If you're Owen, you know you have the faster car to get by. Is it patience with the amount of laps remaining? And how hard does Bonkers make it on him? The tire difference, mediums and hards, between 1 and 2. And the question now becomes, does any of them pit at this point to try to get on fresher tires to have a chance? Bonkers does. Owen does. Yup. Top 3, top 4, top 5. Make it pretty much the whole field. Who stays out here? I think the AlphaTauri is contemplating it. And he does! He does stay out. So this makes for an interesting running order. And Sam Steed has gotten a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car. So that has definitely hurt his chances for points. He had the chance with the safety car coming out after his woes. So now it's not. Now it's inevitable for really no points for Sam Steed unless there's another safety car in the final stages of this race. So with Mythic and Tadpole staying out, it's an AlphaTauri leading and Alpine second. So this is shaped up interesting. So Owen's chance to win this race comes just a little bit trickier. It's not second place now, it's fourth place. But he is second place of the cars who did pit, though. And now this puts Bonkers and him on a level playing field, because originally there was a difference between mediums and hards. Now they're both in softs, so do they wait to fight it out until they get past the front two? Or do they fight it out and still catch the front two here? See, that's the big question. You don't always think it'd be good to work together in this kind of scenario, but you don't want to... I say work together as if you're actually going to work together, but I say work together as to not crash your cars, not battle it, you know, because you want to get by these top two within a decent bit of time before the end of the race, and then battle it out, but at the same time, you want to make it quick enough and not be too passive, because you'll get passed by the cars behind you. So it's a big question on how these guys take it. How patient is Owen going to be? We saw he wasn't really patient at all at the start of the race, but he was very calculated with how he got the moves done. Time was running out. He tried to overtake two cars. I would have set off track, but he was smart to back off and realized if I don't back off, the game's going to give me a penalty. And if I also don't back off, I'm going to crash into one of them coming back on the track. So he was smart about how he was about it, but he also... I don't want to say he was in a rush, but he was very calculated with how he tried to overtake the Mercedes and the Aston of Valkyrie. I think it was Valkyrie and Death Knights. I don't remember who it was now, but he was very careful with how he tried to do it, because you don't want to crash your car in the chance of doing it. So when AlphaTauri was on podium last week with Sam Steed, Alpine have not seen the podium this season in Tier 2. Now, if we were to go to Alpine's best result, that'd be 4th back at Monaco. They've got 2 top 5s in the season, so maybe this is Tadpole trying to say we can get ourselves in the top 5. Maybe we're not going to win. Yes, this is a track position beneficiary track, but I think with the difference of soft tires behind you from 2 hungry drivers for this race victory and a podium, I don't think your fight is for the win. Would it be nice to try to hold off? Yes. Especially if there's another safety car, I think you have more of a chance to hold off. But, you know, if you're the Alpine and AlphaTauri, you know your fight is mostly for the podium, at least, for 3rd place, with the way we're going. I do expect the safety car to be in this time, so we'll get ready for that to happen. So, here we go. If the safety car does come in this time, which I think we'll get the notification in just a moment, and we have got the notification just now. If that is the case, which it is, we'll restart here with 6 laps to go. And the question I notice, I mean, Owen and Bonkers, is it inevitable? Not totally. But behind that, we'll see what they can do to challenge for a podium out of the guys on fresher tires. Here we go. Back underway once again for the third time. The the Haas is now challenging the Alpine of Tadpole. Bonkers and Tadpole really trying to fight this out for second place in this race. Tadpole's off the road, and so is Mythic almost. But look at this already. Bonkers 2 in 1. Is he going to do it? Contact! Around goes the AlphaTauri. Mythic's chance for points is completely done from that. But Bonkers now takes the lead, and Owen is up to second. So now, them two have the chance to battle it out. There's contact behind for third place. Now the battle's for the podium. Minions who pitted as well. Like I said, this could be the chance for a podium. However, he's got a penalty at the expense of that. And now Trat Racer as well, and the Williams has a penalty too, getting overtaken by Valkyrie. Big battle here for 5th place. Oh my goodness. Side by side, wheel to wheel into the hairpin. Instincts trying to get the better of the Williams on the outside line. Trat Racer still holding on. So is Instincts trying to go for this still. Wheel to wheel once again. Not giving an inch. Side by side into a part of a racetrack you probably can't go side by side in, but they made it work unbelievably. Instincts around the outside, got the move done, is ahead, and now can chase for the top 5, because look at that. Minions, with that penalty, could be falling as far outside the top 5 if this race goes the way it is. Battle for the lead, almost missed it. Owen still trying on Bonkers now, around the outside. They're going to be wheel to wheel here as we enter turn 1. Fastest lap for Owen in the restart on the new fresher softs. He's got the move done. And like I said, it was just a matter of time. Minions can fight his way up to the top of the lead, on track at least, but it's not going to get it done based on penalties, unless the top 2 get a penalty. But at this rate, that is very unlikely. Oh, Invade is retired from the session. That's in the pit lane, so his race is over. The first of the Ferrari Academy drivers to retire from this race. Big battle, 5th place right here. Valkyrie and Tadpole. This is really the battle for the podium if you think about it, because that penalty from Minions is not going to keep him on the podium at this rate. Yes, the battling can maybe keep him on the podium, but at the rate they're getting at, it's just a matter of time before they're able to get themselves situated and figure it out for this 4th place spot. Tadpole with the Warner medium tires in comparison to Valkyrie here for 4th place. Soft tires from Instincts, Trat Racer, and the rest of the field behind. Here we go, before 130R now. DRS should be enabled here pretty soon. But before DRS is enabled, that is Valkyrie ahead. So like I said, they got themselves situated. Now the battle's for the podium. A lot of drivers saying that collision between Mythic and I don't remember who now was Mythic's fault. We'll have to see if the stewards do say anything about it, whether it's NFA, a penalty, or not. 7th place, position swap. Grandpa ahead of Trat Racer, and now JTK battling side by side right into the S's with the Alpina Furs. Furs situates himself right in front of JTK. Let's see what kind of seconds there are with the penalties. 5 seconds for JTK, so Leon Minor may be looking for points here still. Have to find out. It's all cooking itself off within the remaining laps. Bonkers has situated himself as well outside the US of Owen, so I think the battle for Bonkers is now just going to be 2nd place. I can't really say it would be anything else, but Valkyrie has now caught himself up to Minions for 3rd place on track as well. Oh, 5th place in this race. Once again, heating itself up. Older tires for Tadpole. That top 5 might not be hung on for much longer. Here comes the Ferrari of Instincts inside at 130R. They're still hanging around, and Tadpole thought better to back off right there and just maybe wait for another day in a battle with Instincts there. Realized it was not his fight. And definitely not to go side by side at 130R there, especially in older tires. He had the brain cells to back off right there and realized it was just going to cause a collision. Bunkers and Trat, drivers of the day. Well, let's see the spots gained from them. I'll take it off the tires here. But, yeah. Instincts as well, 13 spots. You said Bunkers, driver of the day in the Haas. Yeah, I think that's fair, considering he's in a Haas. 4th to 2nd. Held on really well from the top 3. Trat and the Williams. Yeah. Maybe you can consider him. Another spin. It's from Sam Steed once again. Low front wing this time. For the 2nd time. Yeah, I think Trat Racers... Oh, in a battle. Here we go. First, excuse me right there. 8th place. Oh, the Alpine slides. And now JTK gets to take advantage of him. Yeah, I think he's a fair choice. I would say as well another good choice would be Instincts. I know he's in a Ferrari, so you kind of do expect him to do it, but 18th to 5th. Yes, a little more expected, and there's a slide in contact between JTK and Furs, which has now put Leon Miner up to 10th place in what could be the points. Maybe the best car, but Owen deserves a shout for it. Yes, exactly. I was just going to say that too. And here we go. Once again. Big battle. For 9th place. And nope. How about 2nd place right now? Minions on track. Gets the move done. So now this backs Bonkers up to Valkyrie for what is going to be net P2. Well, really, well, I mean, it is P2 because of the penalty, but those are the last spots on the podium, Valkyrie and Bonkers. But will Instincts have enough to get 4th place here on Minions with that penalty, with all this battling going on? Yeah, I think if I were to narrow it down, Owen, Bonkers, I'd say the top 2 for driver of the day for sure, without a doubt. If we were to consider anybody, yeah, I don't know. I mean, what does everyone else think who's watching? I know there's 7 other people watching. Well, I should say 6 actually. Who have a say in it, I should say. For this driver of the day. Well, we're about to reach the final lap. Owen has done an amazing job to hold on to this lead since he's got it for what was the 2nd time, really. Owen's really fought hard for this one. You know, 2 podiums to start of the season. He's going to take the championship lead if this continues. Bonkers gets by Minions. Minions challenging back. He's trying to, you know, these guys are probably thinking, why are you fighting me? You have a penalty. But the thing is, though, is he's also got to hang on from Instincts because Instincts is closing in with this battling going on, too. That's for a 4th place spot right now. Here we go. Once again. Outside line. And here comes the Mercedes with it. I think there's not much battery left on Bonkers. Side by side for 2nd place. But it is going to be Valkyrie who gets net P2 on Bonkers. So big battle right there. So the Mercedes team, they get to be this. If this continues, they get to be the 6th different team of the season on podium within a span of 4 races. How about that? I don't think we would have said that at the start of the last game's first 4 races. Oh, a slide! This is going to be the battle for 2nd place once again. Position swap. Bonkers in front. You know, and I think it is very easy for me to say it is inevitable that Owen was going to get the race lead back, but, you know, with... You would think, I guess, maybe in usual circumstances in this kind of situation, that, you know, getting trapped behind the safety car, not ending up, being able to pit when you wanted to, and kind of getting trapped outside the points and fighting from outside the points. Yes, like 6 or 7 people spun in front of him, but he still had to fight for it. It was not easy whatsoever for the guy who's going to take over the championship lead after this race stands. Owen had to fight for it from the lead to outside the points after getting stuck behind the safety car due to pit stops. He takes the race victory in the Japanese Grand Prix, one that he had to fight so hard for. He is now 4 different winners in 4 of the first races. It is Bonkers for the first 4 races, excuse me. Bonkers ends up taking 2nd place on the podium. It is a 2nd consecutive podium for Haas. Valkyrie ends up being the 6th different team with Mercedes to take podium. He ends up with a hard-fought podium, coming back for it. He looked like he was out of it at some point. He got himself back in it. How about that for them drivers? Look at that. Sorry, I was gonna say 2 different academies for a second. 3 different academies in the podium. How about that? Very well done. It was not easy for Owen. Maybe it was inevitable that he was going to get the lead at some point. But with how far he fell back at a track position racetrack like Suzuka, it is never guaranteed. The Irish driver on top again in RPL F2 or F1 Tier 2. With this, he takes the championship lead. And it's by a minimum of 5 points, I want to say. I mean, he really did all he could. He took... Did he take pole? No, he didn't. He didn't take pole, that's right. Well, he was top 3 in qualifying. I would say he led almost half the race, if not a little more than half. And he ended up winning the race from P3 on the grid. Look at that. Let's go over your final results. Owen, Bonkers, Valkyrie on the podium. Red Bull, Haas, Mercedes. 3 different academies. Look at that. Instincts ends up finishing in 4th. He was the highest, well, second highest repeat winner, with Bonkers and Instincts being the 2 repeat winners in this race, finishing all inside the top 4. Butchered that one right there. Minions inside the top 5 as well for McLaren. Rounding out the rest of the field, Tadpole, Grandpa, Furs, Trat Racer, Liam Miner rounding out the top 10 in this race. And Alfa Romeo see both cars outside the points. Aston Martin, both cars outside the points. Aston Martin with a double DNF. Aston Martin's Depth Knights looked like he had a chance for this race win at one point. That slipped away from him. I think he is probably the biggest heartbreak of this race. I don't think it's anyone else you could say. Not the guys who stayed out had a chance, but Depth Knights. Depth Knights looked like he was going to win this race, or at least have a chance to battle Owen and hang on. I think he would have done a decent job, but he ended up he ended up binning it from the lead, which you could say. I don't know if there was contact. I'm assuming he binned it because the guy behind him was 4/10 away from him when that happened. But yeah, although it is his fault that he binned it, if he did bin it, I'm assuming that there was no contact. It's still a big heartbreak because you got to think at that point Owen was what, 7th, and you had everyone pit again for fresh tires. Owen was then again 4th. So I think there's a big there's definitely a big question of what would have happened then at that point. Not trying to discredit Owen winning the race at all. I think he deserved it, but it's a big question of what battle would have came with it at that point if the Aston Martin would have stayed in the race. He probably would have battled Owen. I don't know if he would have won. That's a big question. That's a big what if. But it is definitely heartbreak, you know, when you end up putting yourself in the top 4 for really 90% of the race and then end up binning it. And, 90% of the race that you completed, I should say, if not more. And ended up costing yourself right there. So, that is that. 4 different winners in the first 4 races. I mean, you know, it comes from both Red Bull and Ferrari academies, Ferrari and Red Bull cars. So now you go in next week for Tier 2, and you start to wonder, is there going to be a 5th different winner now? Who's going to be the repeat winner? Now you have Owen, Groggers, Bonkers, Instincts, all guys who could potentially repeat here, being the first repeat winner of the Tier 2 season. Remember, it's only 11-round season, so as we get close to halfway, these championship points are going to become more crucial as the season continues. And that gap at the top of the table, like I mentioned, Owen now having that championship lead. He's now going to defend it. He seemed like he could defend the race really well today, but he really did get screwed quite a bit when the safety car picked him up, and he didn't have a chance to pit. Kind of butchered that at the end, kind of trying to figure out how it's going to say that to, say, oh, he won the race. Well, he ended up winning the race with a big battle to come back, and I've had to do I myself have had to do a lot of drives through the field, and They get quite annoying, but when you're in the fastest car like Owen is, I'm sure it's not that annoying. It probably was frustrating for him at the time, but he knew in himself that he'd come back for at least a minimum of a podium, and I think he knows his capabilities quite well. So he did a good job in order to come back and win the race. And how about the other podium sitters? Haas for the second week in a row, with Bonkers, highest repeat winner, and the Mercedes getting themselves on the podium, being the 6th different team this season. So you have 4 different winners with 2 different teams, and you have 6 different teams on the podium with, let me just count how many drivers that would be different. You got 4, 5, 6. Now you have 7 different drivers on the podium with that. So 6 different teams with 7 different drivers. So the Tier 2 season has started off quite well. As mentioned previously, F1 is tomorrow at 3 Eastern, 8 UK time. It's also F2 day tomorrow as well. That is at, I believe, is it 11 Eastern for UK? I could be wrong, but it's around that time. I don't know if there will be a stream up for it, but make sure you're looking out for those two if there will be a stream up for it or not. If not, I think you'll probably be notified of who won that via next week if there is no stream. We'll definitely figure it out if there is a stream or not. And then next week, Tier 2 for these drivers. That's going to be a lot of fun. They're in Spain. First race, let me check if I'm right on this before we end off. Am I right on the fact that this would be the first RPL race without the final chicane? Yes, it would. So, very big thing to look out for next week, for next week's Tier 2 race. So, I am your commentator, RyanOcon31, signing off. What an amazing race we had today in Japan. A lot of chaos, a lot of restart chaos, and a lot of uncertainty of who was going to win the race and how the race was going to be won. Big battles. A very big comeback throughout the field from Owen, and a 4th different winner on the Tier 2 season. Check out next time, RPL, F2 tomorrow, F1 tomorrow in Tier 2. Next week it's Spain. Until next time, have a good one, folks.